Stacy, this is Overton. Oh, and don't look directly at the other one, or you turn into a pillar of salt.
Many still remember Living Single as a vibrant sitcom icon of the 90s where friendship, love, and laughter blended seamlessly in every frame. But at 63, Kim Coles has unexpectedly pulled back the curtain on a truth far removed from that glittering image. She revealed secrets that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, blatant disparities in budgeting, harsh and obsessive beauty standards, covert power struggles, and an ending orchestrated like a mockery. This is no longer a simple behind-the-scenes story, but a direct accusation of how Hollywood unfairly treated black productions during the golden era of sitcoms. These revelations send chills down the audience's spine. Could everything we believed about Living Single have just been a facade? What is the real truth behind the sitcom's glamorous glow? Dive into this special analysis series, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss a single shocking detail. With Kim Coles' declaration blasting through the glitz like an explosion, the entire behind-the-scenes narrative begins to gradually reveal its darkest corners. The once innocent view of Living Single, a beloved sitcom of the 90s, is now completely overturned when examined through the lens of injustice and marginalization. Let us begin the journey of unraveling the truth with the show's muted impact in comparison to its younger sibling friends, from stark budget disparities to unfair marketing strategies. This is the starting point of all the deep-seated secrets Kim Coles is about to unveil. From comedy spotlights to sitcom icon, if one were to look only at Kim Coles' radiant smile on screen, few would know that her career journey now at the age of 63 is a story both charming and full of challenges. Some have likened Kim Coles to a unique catalyst in American entertainment, not always the brightest star on the red carpet, yet an indispensable name in the cultural memory of an entire generation. From humble beginnings in New York, to becoming a familiar face on In Living Color, and eventually breaking out in Living Single, Coles' life is proof that humor, humanity, and perseverance can elevate a black woman to iconic status in a notoriously tough industry. Kim Coles was born on January 11, 1962, in Brooklyn, New York, into a middle-class family. In her youth, she was never steered toward acting. She once aspired to a career in education, and even studied at the renowned all-girls Brooklyn Technical High School. Yet her path to the stage began with short comedy sketches at school, where Coles quickly discovered her natural knack for making people laugh. Standing around 5 feet 8 inches tall and exuding effortless charm, she stood out on stage not only for her appearance, but also for her witty and at times endearingly goofy sense of humor that drew laughter from the crowd. In the early 1990s, American television was experiencing a vibrant era of family sitcoms dominated primetime. But few shows dared to place African Americans at the center, telling relatable everyday stories with humor and heart. Then, in 1993, Living Single appeared like a fresh breeze, delivering laughter, while also reflecting real social dynamics, creating a legacy that continues to be remembered more than 3 decades later. Set in Brooklyn, New York, the show followed 4 young women and 2 male friends who shared a living space, navigating friendship, love, and everyday challenges. Unlike other sitcoms of the time that focused on white middle-class ideals, Living Single gave black audiences a chance to see themselves authentically represented on screen. Queen Latifah's Khadijah James was strong and independent. Erica Alexander's Maxine Shaw was sharp and ambitious. Kim Field's Regine Hunter was funny and vain, and Kim Coles's Sinclair James was innocent and optimistic. They represented a broad spectrum of black womanhood, not confined to the stereotypes Hollywood so often imposed. From its very first season, the show made a big impact. With steady viewership, Living Single became one of Fox's top-performing sitcoms. But beyond the numbers, its true power lay in emotional connection. Many viewers recall seeing in Khadijah or Sinclair their friends' sisters, or even themselves. Though a comedy, the show opened the door to bigger conversations about identity, gender, friendship, and the career paths of black women in modern society. What's fascinating is that Living Single didn't just touch viewers, it inadvertently became a blueprint for many sitcoms that followed. The creators of Friends even admitted that they drew inspiration from Living Single in crafting their story about 6 friends living together in Manhattan. Yet while Friends quickly became a global phenomenon, Living Single retained its unique character, simple, honest, and close to home. This comparison sometimes leaves Living Single fans feeling wistful about the show's lack of major marketing support, but it only further cements its role as a trailblazer. The influence of Living Single can also be seen in how newer generations reference it. Sitcoms like Girlfriends Insecure and Blackish have all been shaped to some degree by the spirit. Living Single initiated spotlighting the Black experience in its full variety, not merely through struggle or stereotype. Even in pop culture, the phrase living single has come to symbolize independence, confidence, and community. For Kim Coles, Living Single was the opportunity to turn the character Sinclair into an icon. That innocent, upbeat girl brought not just laughter, but a gentle reminder of kindness and faith in life. Coles once shared that many fans had approached her to say they got through tough times thanks to Sinclair's lightheartedness. That shows that comedy isn't just for entertainment, it can also heal and inspire. Kim Coles' indelible mark on Living Single. When people mention Living Single, many immediately recall Queen Latifah's powerful presence as Khadijah James, or the sharp wit of Maxine Shaw, played by Erica Alexander. But without Sinclair James, the innocent, cheerful woman whose oversized smile lit up every scene, the picture of this iconic sitcom would never be complete. And it was Kim Coles, with her honest and charming performance, who turned Sinclair into a cultural symbol adored by audiences for more than 3 decades. From the very first episodes, Sinclair won viewers over with her purity. In the context of the 1990s, when American television often portrayed Black women through rigid stereotypes, the image of a character who could be a bit silly, yet never lose her kindness, was remarkably refreshing. Kim Coles made this character the optimistic soul of the show. The contrast between Sinclair and the other characters created the perfect balance. Khadijah was strong, Maxine was sharp, Regine was materialistic, and Sinclair embodied the naive belief that everything would be okay. That balance made the group of friends in Living Single feel like a real-life portrait, not just a scripted ensemble. Coles has admitted that she infused much of her real personality into Sinclair, from her loud laugh and occasional clumsiness to her habit of always looking for the bright side of things. This made the character feel truly alive, not just a role but a genuine friend in the eyes of the audience. When viewers laughed at Sinclair, they were laughing with Kim Coles, a woman who allowed herself to be charmingly silly without apology. What made Sinclair even more special was that she didn't just deliver laughs, she also brought one of the show's most beloved romantic storylines. Her relationship with Overton, played by John Henton, became a fan-favorite love story in Living Single. These two characters, both sincere and at times awkward, built a romance that was gentle, authentic, and deeply heartwarming. The chemistry between Coles and Henton created moments that not only entertained, but also resonated emotionally. For many, they represented the idea that happiness comes from simplicity and sincerity. Beyond her on-screen role, Kim Coles made a mark behind the scenes with her kindness and sense of unity. When Queen Latifah lost her brother in a tragic accident, it was Coles who became the keeper of light, always coming up with jokes and funny stories to help her co-star through the grief. She saw it as an unofficial duty, one that clearly reflected the family bond shared by the cast. In Hollywood, where behind-the-scenes drama is often exaggerated, this strong friendship stood out as a rare example of genuine connection. Coles also faced intense pressure about her appearance when producers demanded she lose weight, even threatening to write weight-shaming jokes into the script. In response, she found support in Queen Latifah and the rest of the cast. Coles recalled how Latifah flatly stated, "I'm not reading those lines." That solidarity empowered Coles to continue portraying Sinclair with confidence and helped send a message about body diversity in entertainment. As a result, Sinclair became not just a comedic character, but also a figure representing women who fall outside Hollywood's narrow beauty standards. Notably, even after Living Single ended in 1998, the image of Sinclair lives on in the hearts of viewers. When fans meet Kim Coles in real life, many still call her by her character's name. They share stories of how Sinclair helped them through tough times, how her innocence and optimism were like emotional medicine in the real world. For Coles, this is the greatest gift the role has given her, not just fame or accolades, but the ability to impact millions of lives. 30 years later, as Coles partnered with Erica Alexander to launch the podcast, Reliving Single fans had the chance to better understand her role in the ensemble. Not just a comedic force on camera, Coles was also the glue behind the scenes, someone who nurtured friendships among the cast and bravely began sharing the struggles she had once kept hidden. Through those behind-the-scenes stories, the public realized Sinclair wasn't just a character on screen, she was an extension of who Kim Coles truly is. And yet behind Sinclair's innocent smile and the warm atmosphere, Living Single projected things weren't always as perfect as they seemed on screen. What audiences saw was laughter, friendship, and a vibrant Brooklyn. But for Kim Coles behind the camera, there were tense phone calls from producers, pressures about her body, moments of tears, and a sisterhood so deep it sometimes defied logic. That is the other side of fame, a space where joy and hardship blend, where an actor must not only play a role, but also learn how to protect herself. Now at 63, far enough removed from the spotlight to look back with clarity, Kim Coles has chosen to open the door to the backstage world she long kept private. These revelations aren't meant to shatter beautiful memories, but rather to make the picture of Living Single more honest and vivid than ever before. And that's why when she revealed 7 secrets never before told, audiences were both stunned and drawn closer to the people behind the sitcom legend. The Shadow of Friends, a severely undervalued investment. From the moment it premiered, Living Single proved its charm and originality. A group of young black friends living in Brooklyn, bringing to life stories that were both humorous and deeply reflective of urban living, it was clearly a winning formula. Yet behind the studio lights, the show operated under a shockingly limited budget. Cast members have shared that every aspect of production had to be done on a shoestring. From costumes to sets, the team constantly struggled to make do. Meanwhile, just across the network landscape, Friends, a later sitcom also centered around a group of young friends in New York, showed a stark contrast. It received generous funding, had custom-built sets, professional stylists, and a nationwide marketing campaign. Living Single, in contrast, despite its strong ratings, was never given the same promotional push, to the point where many viewers outside of the black community didn't even know it existed. This disparity wasn't merely about money. It revealed a broader reality. Productions featuring white casts were consistently prioritized, heavily funded, and marketed with global reach in mind, while black-led sitcoms were often sidelined, treated as niche, and placed lower on the industry's list of priorities. Living Single, as a result, remained in the massive shadow of Friends, a shadow constructed from money media and a systematized bias. The bitter truth is that while Friends became a worldwide cultural phenomenon, Living Single, though it came first and blazed, the trail was never given the recognition it deserved. From Kim Coles to Erica Alexander, the cast worked under tight constraints, yet gave everything to keep the show shining. And this injustice has left a lasting scar in the memories of many viewers. Living Single deserved far more than it received, but was suppressed right on the very stage where it was born. Body image pressure. When actresses face weight discrimination. If the shadow of Friends left Living Single struggling with limited budgets and minimal promotion, then another kind of shadow weighed heavily on the bodies and minds of its actresses, the pressure of appearance. For Kim Coles, who portrayed the sweet and innocent Sinclair, her years on set were not just filled with joyful filming days, but also a string of anxieties every time her weight was scrutinized. Producers viewed her body as a variable to be controlled. At the start of each new season, Coles would be reminded to lose weight, as if her size mattered more than her acting talent. These warnings didn't stop at gentle suggestions. They sometimes turned into threats. If she didn't slim down, lines mocking Sinclair's weight might be written into the script. In an industry obsessed with the Hollywood standard, this effectively turned her appearance into a weapon of humiliation. As a result, Coles often fell into feelings of insecurity. Rather than fully focusing on her performance, she was plagued by worries like, am I getting bigger, or is the camera highlighting my flaws? On set, beneath the laughter and upbeat energy, Coles carried a quiet fear of becoming the punchline, not of a joke she delivered, but of one aimed at her. It was a psychological burden that the audience could never see behind the episodes they loved. The irony is that Sinclair as a character was beloved for her sincerity and innocence, not because of how thin or curvy she was. Yet behind the scenes, Coles had to constantly fight to ensure her character wouldn't be turned into a chubby mascot to be laughed at. This struggle starkly reveals the gap between public affection and the invisible pressures of the production system. The body image pressure on Living Single mirrored a broader reality of 1990s. Hollywood women, especially black women, were subjected to far more intense scrutiny over their appearance than men. Talent, personality, and charm were often overshadowed by the number on a scale. And when these harsh demands were placed on performers, they didn't just stifle creativity, they left scars on those who endured them. That's why Kim Coles' story serves as a wake-up call. It reveals that behind the boisterous laughter of a hit sitcom, there existed quiet pain pressures the show never intended for viewers to know. but that remain an indelible part of its backstage history. The backstage battle, unraveling the rift in Kyle's uprising. If Kim Coles' story exposed the cruelty of body image pressure, then the case of Terrence T.C. Carson opened another front, a power struggle taking place behind the scenes of Living Single. On screen, Kyle Barker appeared as a suave, sharp gentleman sparring romantically with Maxine Shaw in scenes full of chemistry. But behind the spotlight, Carson became the frontline soldier, the one who dared to speak up on behalf of the cast against the show's injustices. And that courage sparked a rift that would never be mended. To his fellow cast members, Carson was seen as brave someone who voiced concerns shared by many wage disparities, grueling shooting schedules, and the lack of resources compared to white-led sitcoms. But to the network leadership, he was viewed as too influential a figure capable of shaking the system's control. Every time Carson stood up for fairness, his place as an on-screen pillar turned more and more into a backstage threat. Tensions peaked in the final seasons when Carson was directly accused of wielding too much off-screen power. In response, he shot back, "If you truly believe I have so much power, then give me a role that reflects it." That challenge struck like a match to dry gunpowder, and the fallout came swiftly. Kyle Barker, the character synonymous with Carson's name, suddenly vanished from the show, leaving fans stunned and creating a gaping hole in the beloved romantic arc with Maxine. Carson's departure wasn't merely a plot twist, it was a silent message in the television world of the 1990s. Especially for black actors, speaking up for fairness could mean sacrificing your career. Living Single, known to viewers for its laughter and camaraderie, was not immune to the cold power dynamics behind the scenes. Looking back today, Kyle's battle remains one of the deepest scars in the memory of Living Single. For the audience, it was the loss of a cherished character. For Carson, it was a bitter lesson that honesty can become a trap. And for television history, it stands as undeniable proof of a reality still relevant today. Sometimes the value of a truthful voice is treated as far less important than convenient silence. Cheap marketing: how Fox forgot its black sitcom. Kyle's disappearance revealed the weight of backstage power struggles, but the show's marketing story uncovers a quieter yet equally damaging form of injustice. Living Single was almost never given equal standing by Fox compared to its white-led sitcom counterparts. Even when the show was at its ratings, peak audiences struggled to find posters, trailers, or major promotional campaigns dedicated to it. While Friends was built into a media juggernaut through every corner of public relations, Living Single simply existed quietly tucked into a regular time slot, never elevated as a flagship for the network. This wasn't just a marketing oversight, it reflected Fox's perception of a black-led sitcom's value. Cast members later recalled how they often felt sidelined, excluded from behind-the-scenes perks enjoyed by actors on other shows. That indifference made it hard for Living Single to reach new viewers, even though its content was every bit as sharp, funny, and compelling. The effects lingered for decades. When people reflect on the 1990s, Friends immediately comes to mind as a global icon, while Living Single is usually remembered only within its loyal fan base. Not because it lacked quality, but because it was never fairly brought into the spotlight. Being overlooked in marketing meant missing the chance to build the legacy it truly deserved. And that's the painful truth audiences only came to understand once the cast spoke out. Living Single never lacked great writing or performances. What it lacked was the promotional investment to earn its rightful place alongside its white siblings of the era. An unfinished finale, the ending secret, and a mysterious broadcast schedule. After several seasons of connecting with its audience, Living Single should have ended with a grand finale, something worthy of the fans who had stayed by its side. But the reality was the exact opposite. The show quietly disappeared, almost erased from the broadcast schedule without any clear explanation. Season 5, which turned out to be the final season, consisted of only 13 episodes. Its airing schedule was constantly pushed around, at one point promised for early in the year, then delayed until fall. In the end, the remaining episodes were dumped on air in a rushed manner and wrapped up on a random January day, as if the show were being shoved into a drawer. There was no farewell special, no promotional campaign to mark the end. Viewers simply saw the show vanish from the screen. Many have questioned why a sitcom with steady ratings would end so abruptly. Behind the scenes, it was said that Fox had lost interest, compounded by internal conflicts and cast tensions that left all plans unfinished. Notably, Kim Fields was absent from several of the final episodes, making the conclusion feel even more incomplete. The story of the Brooklyn friend group, carefully built over many seasons, came to a close without the full presence of its original cast. This unfinished ending left a sense of disappointment. Fans were denied a proper goodbye, and the actors never got the chance to truly close the chapter on roles they had poured years of their careers into. Even years later, when the cast reflected back, they still referred to the rushed ending as an unhealed wound, evidence that black-led sitcoms were often not given the same care or respect. In American television history, many shows have ended prematurely. But for Living Single, the abrupt finale wasn't just a business decision. It was a clear sign that the show had never been valued for what it was truly worth. It remains a bitter truth rarely spoken aloud by the cast, because the more it's revisited, the deeper the regret becomes. Blurred profits, the unspoken truth about financial sharing. When we talk about the iconic sitcoms of the 1990s, it's impossible to ignore how the cast of Friends became symbols of immense wealth thanks to multi-million-dollar contracts and revenue from syndication deals. On the flip side, Living Single remains shrouded in financial mystery. No one truly knows what its cast members received beyond their basic salaries. For years, both the public and media have found virtually no transparent documentation on profit sharing for the Living Single cast. There is no known data on residual percentages from syndication, no figures on revenue from licensing the show to other networks, and no details about DVD sales or streaming platform distributions. All that exists are whispers and speculation that the cast was never treated as fairly as their Friends counterparts. For fans, this lack of clarity is even harder to accept, knowing that Living Single had stable ratings and significant cultural impact within the Black community. A show of that stature should have generated substantial income through reruns and distribution deals. And yet where that revenue went and who truly benefited remains an unanswered question. The cast members have rarely spoken publicly about financial matters, perhaps due to strict contractual terms or a desire not to reopen old wounds. But that silence only fuels suspicions that they were not compensated equitably. While the Friends cast became millionaires many times over from decades of residuals, the Living Single cast is remembered for their performances, not for wealth generated from the success they helped build. This reflects a bitter truth about the television industry of that era. The economic value of black-led sitcoms was often underestimated or dismissed. Though Living Single was a cultural milestone, it was never treated as a goldmine worth sharing with the people who brought it to life. The lack of transparency around profits remains one of the show's lingering backstage secrets, one that fans can only speculate about, but which starkly reveals a deeper issue in Hollywood. Financial fairness has never stood on equal footing with artistic recognition. Power and ethics, the unseen pressures. Every behind-the-scenes story of Living Single carries its own scar, but perhaps the deepest one wasn't about money or contracts. It was the invisible power that loomed over the cast for years. No one could see it with the naked eye, no document ever recorded it yet. It shaped the way the team worked throughout the show's lifetime. Cast members recalled that the atmosphere on set sometimes felt like a classroom where every move was monitored. Laughing too much, you'd get warned. Voicing disagreement, you could be branded as disruptive. The irony is stark. This all happened on a show celebrated for its cultural revolution, putting a group of black friends on screen in modern-day New York. In front of the camera, there was freedom, personality, and laughter. Behind it, rigid rules created an environment that many found stifling. Kim Coles was pressured over her appearance. Terrence T.C. Carson was removed simply for speaking out. These weren't isolated incidents, they were products of a system that valued silence above all. Rather than being encouraged to share their thoughts, actors often had to remind themselves, stay quiet, to keep your place, keep your head down, to move forward. This was professionalism warped by power, an unwritten rule everyone understood, but no one dared say aloud. That same pressure crept into smaller things too: wardrobe decisions, dialogue lines. Sometimes lines weren't written to serve the character, but to appease a producer's sarcastic perspective. Costumes didn't always reflect personality, but instead the constraints of a tight budget, or worse, a lack of care for how the cast would appear to the public. All of it fostered a quiet helplessness. They were the heart and soul of the show, yet had no control over how they were presented. Over 20 years after Living Single ended, when Kim Coles and Erica Alexander reunited on their podcast, Reliving Single, these memories began to surface. Fans were stunned to learn that the sitcom that had once made them laugh so freely had been produced under such heavy restrictions. But they also grew more appreciative of the cast. who despite the invisible pressures kept their characters alive, turned each episode into a slice of real life, and left an enduring mark on pop culture. The price of living single wasn't just being overshadowed by Friends. It was also paid by those who had to stifle their true voices in front of the camera. That's why when audiences today remember the show as a forgotten gem, it's not just a lament for the series itself. It's a tribute to the people who endured and overcame those constraints to bring laughter to an entire generation. After all that has been revealed, it's clear that Living Single was never just a fun sitcom. It was also a mirror reflecting the injustices, pressures, and power games hidden behind the lights. At 63, Kim Coles has bravely pulled back the curtain, so we can finally see the full picture from the overwhelming shadow of Friends, the harsh pressures around body image, to quiet internal conflicts and a hastily arranged ending. These are no longer just behind-the-scenes anecdotes, they are a wake-up call about how Hollywood once treated black-led productions. If you want to continue uncovering the 7 darkest secrets of living single and dive into more untold stories from sitcom history, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Your support is what drives us to bring you deeper analysis, shocking revelations, and hidden truths no one's dared to speak about until now.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore. Stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.